The studio was silent, but the tension was deafening. Under the bright lights of CBS This Morning, Nate Burleson leaned forward, his eyes locked on Meghan Markle. She had arrived smiling, but now her gaze had sharpened into something colder, more calculated. He had just delivered the question that shifted the air entirely. And in the next moment, Nate would turn that silence into a decisive blow heard across the nation. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, had built an image that straddled two worlds, royalty and independence. Once celebrated as a modernizing force within the British monarchy, she left that life behind in 2020, stepping away from royal duties alongside Prince Harry. Since then, she had championed charitable causes and women's empowerment, but critics accused her of curating her public image while avoiding accountability. Her speaking style was polished, confident, and designed to control the narrative. Opposite her sat Nate Burleson, a former NFL star turned award-winning broadcaster. Known for his warmth and charisma, Nate had earned a reputation as a professional who could ask tough questions without losing composure. He was respected for steering conversations with quiet persistence, the kind of interviewer who could smile while pushing a guest into uncomfortable territory. This morning, his task was to navigate one of television's most high-profile interviews, and he was not planning to back down. The morning began as a celebration. Meghan's latest charitable foundation was launching a global initiative for women entrepreneurs, and CBS This Morning was her platform of choice. Cameras rolled as Nate welcomed her with a warm smile, exchanging pleasantries before diving into the polished, pre-approved topics her team had sent over. The early minutes flowed effortlessly. She spoke about microloans, educational outreach, and sustainability projects. Her answers were rehearsed but compelling, the kind of content her publicists had hoped for. Then came the pivot. Nate's tone remained light, but his question shifted the ground beneath them. Meghan, your foundation's work is making headlines in a good way, but many viewers are curious. Do you see yourself returning to the UK anytime soon? Her smile froze for half a second, almost imperceptibly. Whether I go to the UK or not, she replied evenly, is entirely my decision. And frankly, it's amusing that it's still a topic of conversation. The audience chuckled lightly, but Nate didn't retreat. I think people are curious because of your history with the royal family. It's a natural question. Meghan leaned back slightly. Perhaps your viewers should focus more on issues in their own country. The jab was subtle, but unmistakable. Something shifted. The warm glow of morning television began to fade, replaced by a low hum of tension. Nate pressed once more, asking whether her departure had been her choice or whether she and Harry had been pushed out. Meghan's eyes narrowed. We made our choice, Nate. I'm not here to rehash tabloid headlines, but I suppose that's more entertaining than discussing real work, isn't it? The control room stirred. Producers exchanged glances. This was not the interview they'd planned, but it was the interview they were getting. And Nate, still calm, still collected, was about to take it somewhere Meghan hadn't prepared for. The conversation turned. Nate adjusted in his seat, his posture still relaxed, but his eyes signaling he was moving into more dangerous waters. Meghan, I think it's worth noting that public image is part of telling the whole story. The way you left the royal family, like it or not, frames how people see your work. Meghan's lips curved into a measured smile. Maybe the media should consider telling the story correctly. The audience murmured. There was a pause long enough for cameras to catch the faint tension in Nate's jaw before he continued. Some might say it's not about correctness, it's about relevance. You were a central figure in a historic moment. Ignoring that context doesn't make it disappear. Her response was instantaneous, a precise verbal strike. And some might say relevance doesn't justify prying into my personal life. Nate's voice stayed level, almost conversational. There's also been speculation about pressures on your marriage. People wonder, she cut in sharply, and suddenly that wondering becomes a headline, and the headline becomes a narrative. And here you are, Nate, feeding it. The studio tightened. Even Whoopi Goldberg, seated nearby, shifted uneasily. Joy Behar glanced between them, sensing this was no longer recoverable with a light-hearted pivot. "I'm asking questions people at home might want answered," Nate said, his tone firm but still calm. "And my job," Meghan countered, "is to decide which questions are worth my time and which are thinly disguised gossip." It was the first moment where Nate's smile thinned. And yet, here we are. The audience gave a low ripple of reaction, sensing the subtle checkmate in his delivery. She shifted tactics, leaning forward. "Apparently, my marriage status is more exciting than the thousands of people our programs help every year." Nate leaned in slightly, lowering his voice just enough to feel intimate but pointed. "I think we can talk about both, the work you're doing and the context in which you're doing it. That's part of telling the whole story." She let out a short, humorless laugh. "The whole story, according to you, maybe." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy, each second stretching longer. Nate's eyes stayed fixed on hers, unblinking, and the control room hesitated to cut to commercial. The moment was building, the kind of unplanned, unscripted tension that makes live television unforgettable. Then Nate made the move that would shift the balance entirely. "I've interviewed many public figures, Meghan. Most of them understand that questions about their public image aren't personal attacks. But with you, it seems every topic is met with defensiveness or dismissal." Her eyes narrowed. "Maybe that's because most of your guests aren't asked the same recycled questions over and over. You think you're uncovering something groundbreaking, Nate, but you're just rerunning the greatest hits from the tabloids." He gave a short, humorless laugh. "You know, I've tried to keep this professional. I've given you space to explain your work, your point of view, but it's becoming clear you're not here for a conversation. You're here to control the narrative and shut down anything that doesn't fit it." It landed. The room stilled. The balance of control began to slip away from her. Meghan's posture shifted, the faintest sign of unease. Control the narrative? That's rich coming from the media. Nate didn't flinch. What's rich is someone acting like the media is the enemy while booking themselves on every major platform to promote their image. What's rich is claiming you want privacy, then making a career out of telling and selling your side of the story. The words hung in the air. The audience reacted audibly now. A wave of murmurs and gasps rippled across the set. For the first time, Meghan seemed momentarily caught off guard, not by the content of his statement, but by its directness. She recovered quickly, firing back with sarcasm. "So now you're going to tell me what my career is about?" Nate's voice remained steady, even measured. "You brought up your marriage by shutting down the question earlier. And frankly, your attitude in this interview is exactly why some people see you as out of touch. You're not engaging, you're lecturing. And when challenged, you become dismissive." The camera caught Meghan's face in close-up. Her eyes hardened, but the faint flush along her cheekbones betrayed a spark of frustration. The audience sensed the shift. This wasn't the Meghan Markle they were used to seeing. Somewhere in the control room, a producer muttered, "We've crossed the point of no return." Nate sat back, letting the silence stretch just long enough for everyone watching to feel the weight of it. Then he leaned forward again, voice low but cutting. "Let's call this what it is. You married into a global brand. You left the institution, and now you want all the perks of the platform without the accountability that comes with it." It was surgical, precise, and devastating. Meghan blinked, her lips parting just slightly before pressing back into a line. She tried to regain her footing. "Excuse me." "You heard me," Nate said, without breaking eye contact. "This show is about conversation, not coronation. And if you can't handle straightforward questions without insulting the interviewer, maybe this isn't the place for you." Gasps erupted from the audience. The reaction was visceral, electric. Her jaw tightened. "So you're telling me to leave?" "Yes," Nate replied simply. There it was, the final turn. In one decisive moment, the balance of power in the room shifted entirely. She unclipped her microphone, the sharp click of the metal cutting through the silence. She stood, her heels striking the floor with deliberate force. "This is unbelievable. I came here to talk about important issues, and instead I get ambushed and insulted on live television." Nate rose slowly, his composure unshaken. "You came here for publicity, Meghan. Let's not pretend otherwise. And you got it, just not the kind you wanted." The words landed like a closing gavel. She turned toward the edge of the set but paused, delivering one last icy parting shot over her shoulder. "Good luck with your ratings, Nate. You're going to need them." Without missing a beat, Nate replied, "After today, we'll be just fine." The audience gasped again, some even breaking into scattered applause. The cameras caught every flicker of the moment. Her tight